George Stuckey grew up on this farm. He lives over there, and he had this all laid out back in 1980. And when I bought the farm, I looked at what he showed me in a letter, and I couldn't believe it. And I didn't really want to farm the woods or knock it down. So I thought, wow, this fits in right here. When I looked at a map, I thought, whoa, Homecoming Park is right up against our farm. So it just kind of naturally fits into, not to Rotary, but to Homecoming Park. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, let's make this a Rotary project, and I brought it up, and it caught fire, and everybody got behind it and made it work. And it's a fun project for Rotary, and we're having fun making it happen. And it's pretty humbling to see how many people already are enjoying this thing. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, it'll be a trail through the woods, which is 1.5 miles, which is pristine and competes with any of them in the whole area of northwest Ohio.
Definitely.
Why go down to Toledo when you can go to Wauseon and enjoy a park? Mm-hmm. It's interesting and fun to walk on. So there we have it. Rotary's having fun with it.
Cool. Very good. Thank you.
So picking up on where Ed left off, I was attending a Rotary lunch one afternoon, and Ed announced to the rest of the Rotary members that he decided he wanted to form a committee to spearhead to oversee the construction and development of the paths. And we had a brief conversation at lunch. I think we were at the same table, and he announced that he wanted me to sort of head up that committee. And I don't think anyone was more surprised than myself and 45 other Rotarians. But I was honored that Ed asked me to head up the project, and we quickly, from there, we put together a committee of 5 folks to oversee the project. Ed, of course, is one of the members. Dave Gherkin from F&M, Dean Beck, retired CEO from the hospital, Tony Schindler from the Fulton County Commissioner's Office, and I think that's, did I miss anybody? Chairman. What's that? Sorry.
Yourself.
Cut. And myself as the chairman. 5-person committee. We also included Cape Cordy, who was then the Rotary president, as a member of the committee, and he since has been succeeded by Teresa Haas, who's now also joining us on the committee. And we meet every month, and we sat down. I think we began meeting at the beginning of January. We've had a meeting every month to discuss plans for the project, and we broke the project into a number of phases. Phase 1 being the creation of the trails, the perimeter trails in both of the woods. And we're at a point now where at the beginning of September, we've pretty much finished phase 1 in creating those perimeters, and we're ready to move on to phase 2 shortly.
So what does phase 2 kind of entail?
Well, subsequent phases will include creating additional paths that will connect the perimeter trails. The north trail is about 0.43 miles in circumference. The southern trail in the south woods is about 0.7 miles in circumference. That's connected by a 60-foot corridor of 1/10 of a mile long. Mm-hmm. And the next phase will include creating paths that will connect the perimeters in both the woods. Additional phases will include removing more of the hazardous trees and diseased trees and planting native species. We want to do a number of educational things to focus on the history of the project, including Indian Hills, which has a lot of historical significance for this area. We'd like to do some work with the wildlife, of course, and also some of the trees, so that folks can come out and get an educational experience. We anticipate we're sort of partnering with Fulton County Soil and Water. They're going to be giving us a lot of assistance in the near future with some of those tasks. So that's what's in store for the near future. But right now, we're happy to celebrate the creation of the perimeter paths and be here for the inaugural running of the Fulton County Invitational Cross Country Meet.
Very nice. Thank you.
I was privileged to have help with the committee. That was really fun. It was really fun to be part of a community project that had so much enthusiasm and so many positive results. One of our goals was to create a new park area. It didn't take a lot of maintenance to keep the annual budget down, but to create a new look, new activity in the park. Now you can come to the air-conditioned pavilion at Homecoming Park, and the kids can run in the trails and come and chase the squirrels or the deer out or something like that. We built a perimeter area to the park, to the woods, our first phase of action. The woods has some very wet areas in it, and we wanted to preserve those, but we still wanted to be able to see those wet areas. In this area here is a wet area. We built a berm to help maintain more water in that wet area during the wet seasons in the early springs. We also looked at this park and looked at it to help design more during the 5-inch rain that Wauseon had in July this year. That helped us understand how we should manage the water. Our goal was to create, of course, Houston, Texas learned that big rains make trouble, so here we're trying to retain some of the rainwater in the woods, a good place to store it for a while until it later can leave the woods. We have the trails that go up and down and left or right a lot, so that you get a lot of different views from the woods. That also lets you sneak up on wildlife better. It's not like a county road that goes straight for 10 miles. This is an interesting scenic route. We have a lot of different soils in this woods too. We have a sand hill on Indian Hill, and then we have some real good soils in this area. The soils in this region, the trees are really, really healthy and big. They're so big, the shading of the trees limits the amount of growth on the floor of the woods. Like there's hardly any growth there because the trees shade things out. Other areas are more open and have more thickets and varied areas. We have another wetland here that we go straight through, and that lets you see the heart of the wetland, not just the grass around the perimeter. So we have a lot of oaks, hickories, red oaks.
But to clarify, this is the Homecoming Park here as it now exists. This is what we call the North Woods. This is what we call the South Woods. This trail is about 0.43 miles in circumference. This trail in the Southern Woods is about 0.71, and then this is the corridor that's roughly 60 feet wide and about 1/10 of a mile. So all told, if you come in to the southern entrance of the North Woods and do both trails, you'll have walked or run about 1.25 miles.
And how would you describe kind of the difference or the change from when you first started the project, when it was all just how Ed bought it, and how it is now?
Oh, well, the Rotarians did a great job of running the chainsaw and helping clearing the trees. They basically blazed the trail for all the trail. Our next step was to have a timber cutter cut the dead ash trees that were dangerous and hazardous. He cut over 300 ash trees that would be able to fall on anybody as they walked through the woods. Those are on the ground now, and then we continued, and we worked on maybe 25% of the area and raised it up a little bit so the trail would be more dry and more accessible.
Yeah, and then after we removed the hazardous trees, then Paul Andre and his company, Ed Knopfsinger, came in about a week and a half's time, went through and brought dirt all the way from over here where the old retention pond had been created. They created arteries to various points in the wood through the field and used that dirt to raise up those low-lying areas that Paul had mentioned. They then went through with a disc and discs the entire paths to bring up the roots and to carve it up a bit. Then they went through and smoothed it all out, and then with the compressor thing I guess you guys got, compacted the path into the nice condition that you see now. So we appreciate all Paul's work and expertise in the project.
I'm excited to see a project happen in town that's positive and has a lot of volunteer help, and they did a great job blazing the trail.
Well, about a couple years ago, we received a donation from Ed Knopfsinger for the woods, which you see behind us, and we decided that we were going to put some trails in it. So this year we finally got the committee together, got organized, and on May 13th actually was the first date that we actually broke ground, so to speak, and got everything together. So if you think of May 13th, and you have July in there too, where we had those 2 weeks of hard water, to see where we're at now, and it's actually been walkable for about a month now. It's actually a really amazing how far it's come along in such a short period of time. It really goes to show the dedication that we've got here from the club.
So like how many, I guess, Rotarians or people were involved with the project too?
The committee originally started out with, I believe, 5 members, and then it grew to about 7. And then all Rotarians helped out when they could, whether it be only for a few hours on a Saturday. Some obviously put in more hours than others. We have a couple individuals that put in 15, 20 hours a week, and that's after work, after kids, after personal time. You know, that was their personal time they were giving. And there were about a handful of members who did that, but pretty much every Rotarian had something to do with it in one capacity or another.
Okay. And can you kind of describe a little bit about what the Rotary is or who it's made up of?
The Rotary is made up of local businessmen and women from the community who come together every Wednesday. We have a meeting, and basically what we do is we try and figure out what we want to do to better serve the community through service projects. We built Rotary Park and the Rotary Pond. We helped build Homecoming and the pavilion here and the trails, and of course Dorothy Biddle. We worked on that for years, and how we are able to do this mainly is through our annual auction every year, which is actually coming up on October 28th. So if anyone has anything they'd like to donate, please contact someone from the local Rotary Club, and we will be more than happy to use it in our auction. But that's where we get the majority of our funds from to actually do these service projects. And we do other things. We help with the food pantry at the school. We help donate to other various organizations that are not-for-profit in the community as well. So the money also goes towards that.
I'm Mayor Kathy Huner, and I'm just so excited to be here in this event today, because not only is there a county cross-country meet, but we also are here.
Holy cow.
That's fine.
And we're also here to enjoy the more or less ribbon cutting of this brand new beautiful trail that's being donated from the Wauseon Rotary, which I'm also a member of, and I'm very excited to be jumping from the Wauseon Rotary Club over to the mayor to receive this beautiful trail that is being given to us from the Rotary and Mr. and Mrs. Ed Spangler. This is just such a beautiful trail, and for the cross country, for Wauseon High School and all of the county to be able to utilize it today is just an exciting time for us. And not only that, but the trees that are, inside of here, that some of them are just huge. I've had members of the community already go through it, and they said they never knew that this even existed, let alone going through it and seeing all the different varieties of canopy that are in there. There's the buckeye tree that everyone's talking about. It's just huge, and some of the different oak trees and elm trees. I mean, there's just all varieties. So if you get a chance and you are able to, you definitely need to come in here and check this trail out.
Well, first of all, I want to give a big thanks to Ed Knopfsinger for donating the woods. I would like to give a big thanks to the Rotary for all the work that they put in. A big thanks to Paul Andre for all the work that he put in. And then there's all sorts of other entities that have really stepped up to help. This has helped us to create a top-notch premier cross-country course here at Wauseon, which was something that was lacking. For a program that we've had so much success, it's something that I'm so excited that we're able to have, and then I as a coach am able to share with the kids for the future. Again, extremely excited. It's also going to help us in terms of training. I know on long runs, running on the grass and running back in the woods, and I keep looking back here because that's where the woods is at, is a lot better on legs than pounding pavement constantly. That gives us a huge advantage in having a course like this to train on.
And is the plan here to kind of host a yearly invitational then?
Yeah, from now on out, we're hoping to host this Fulton County invite. Date might change a little bit, obviously. We'd love to make it possibly a Saturday meet, maybe get all 7 Fulton County schools. Right now we only have 5 here, but we're excited about the 5 that we have here, especially for the first time through. So they say you always learn something from each race that you run, so hopefully we learn and we figure out how to make this the best course possible for future generations of Wauseon kids as well as the rest of Fulton County.